We are
Didi
and Arma, and in our daily lives we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast we share the methods, skills and solutions that helped us, our students and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together.
So in this episode we're talking about...
The water element. Yeah.
And there it is in my cup. Yeah.
Yeah. So, water element. So some of the things that come up when you think about water element, when I think about water element, there is wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
It's death and rebirth.
Okay.
Fear, courage, and the right of existence, the right of being.
Wow.
These are some of the terms that belong to the water element.
Wow. And so in this episode, we're going to go through those slowly and make sure that we have a great understanding about them. So hearing you say all these things, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about my cup of water and maybe rain or snow during winter, but fear and death and whoa.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like Lord of the Rings. It's like...
Well, it is a little bit. They use those elements in those things as well, of course.
Oh, of course, you see the elements everywhere. But just to make sure, and maybe we can do a little recap about the five elements, because we're talking about the Chinese elements now, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
So we did a earlier episode on the five elements and what they stand for. So what it actually is people have studied the elements for so long. Nature, actually. They studied nature and they translated nature and how nature behaves into five elements.
Yeah. So
and
there's a cycle.
There's a cycle. It's a cycle of change. And this can be outside of you, like in the seasons, processes, but it can also be in your body.
Yeah.
And in the emotions. So you can see they really thought it through.
We could say it's waterproof, people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we use the five elements of the traditional Chinese medicine as it is so well documented. And it's been there for thousands of years.
So, and if because that's what's in it for you as a listener. I mean, if you have this as a tool of understanding change, it's better to predict things. You will be better in understanding yourself, yourself in nature, because you're like a microcosm in a macrocosm. So there's a lot of benefit by having a sort of a method to work with to understand change.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes even further than that. Because what we do, well, I teach five element food and herbs. And what they also did is categorize these foods in these elements as well. So you can, and herbs are there as well in the different elements.
Yeah,
and so you can fine-tune your balance by the food that you eat, by the herbs that you take, by the things that you do when you know there is a disbalance on one of the elements within you.
So how can you use another element to influence another element and things like that? So that then all of a sudden you have a tool.
A tool, yeah.
Something you can work with that actually has been working since, people have been using this as a model. And that's long. That's long.
And I think one of the most beautiful things of this system is that it's all inclusive. It's all in there. So nowadays you see that we go to a doctor we have a sore toe. Just something.
I have a sore toe.
I have a sore toe. Well, I'm just saying, just
What?
an example.
Yeah.
But and then we're treated for the sore toe. But if you go to a doctor that deals in traditional Chinese medicine, he might be cleansing your liver or something like that, because the sore toe is a result of a disbalance somewhere in the
and
body.
he will be asking you, how do you feel? Are you in your head lately?
It might
blah,
be
blah.
an emotional disbalance somewhere, or it always is.
So it's still the holistic approach. Yeah. So we hear a couple of things. That's transformation. We hear nature. We hear change, and these are all words that sort of make me feel very good.
Yeah.
Because being stuck is easy as a human being, right? Yeah. We as humans are so used to being stuck in our minds, in our emotions, in the things we want, blah, 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 blah. But this gives us a tool that say change is inevitable. So you might as well have a clear understanding of what change is about. And then how can you influence your own transformation? And then that goes even a little bit further, and then I'll shut up after this, is that you can influence your outside as well, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's from the inside out.
Yeah. And maybe one of the important things is you can ease into the energy that is around you. Because maybe it's a beautiful bridge to the water element.
Yeah, sure.
At the moment. Because why did we choose for water element? Well, it's winter time, and this is the element that belongs to winter.
Yep.
And because we're in winter, we feel the energy of this element so clearly everywhere at the moment.
Totally, yeah.
And so winter time is really the energy of contracting. It's in the Chinese medicine, they call it the big yin. So it's all going inwards.
Yeah, inwards.
And it's cold outside, and the plants decided to stay in their roots.
So they draw their energy back to the root.
Yeah.
The bear goes into its cave. We go into our caves.
We spend a lot more time inside the house, and it doesn't feel like you want to go out all the time and to it's not the time to go partying all the time or go picnicking, because you feel more like, okay, there's more rest.
Yeah.
If you listen to what's going on around you at the moment.
Sure. And at another level, there's more introspection.
Yeah.
You see it around the New Year's. We have the New Year's resolution going into the next year, etc. So
Absolutely.
That's also going inward, right?
Yeah. It's this beautiful time of reflection. How did I do in the other seasons? Where do I stand, and how do I want to continue in the next year or
cycle.
next cycle?
Yeah.
I'm saying next year, but it can be in all different aspects. The cycle of the 5 elements and change.
Yeah.
So it can be also in a project, but whenever you're in water elements, or it can be in your life. I mean, you can go through different cycles all through your life that you see. Oh, well, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know where I'm going. If you're in this phase, you're probably in water element.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because, I mean, we have literally the seasons of the year, fall, winter, and everything. But you also have the seasons of a project where its projects is going through, even a day where a day is going through.
And the moon cycles, so important. And you see it so beautifully with women who are in a cycle.
Of course, the menstrual cycle. Yeah.
So you see all the phases going through that cycle as well. And you see when just in the menstruation that people or that women are more drawn inwards.
Yeah. So that's the yin phase.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can put this model on so many things. And the water element is like death. It's something is you say goodbye to something of yourself.
Yeah.
Or nature is saying goodbye to something, and we move on to the next phase. And then we're gaining information, energy in this phase to completely come into bloom if we decide to rebirth, to completely come into bloom in the wood element.
In the wood element, yeah.
Which is springtime, and there's tons of energy
and creativity,
and there's so much else going on. But if you don't decide to rebirth and hang in this phase of, do I want to be born again, or do I want to go back to the metal element?
So that's interesting, is that the water element is in between the metal element, which stands more for the old, the controlled and everything, and then. But on the other side, if you move through it, you have the wood element, where's creativity and bloom and
you
growth.
Go into childhood again.
Yeah, so it's not necessary that you go through these changes, right? I mean, you might decide you want to change, but that's not. So there's a choice there.
Well,
right? If it goes on a personal level.
Absolutely, and it's beautiful at the moment you see with the pandemic, because we're so in water element at the moment. In the whole world, because there have been changes that are so absolute that we cannot do the same thing as we used to do.
Yeah, it's so extreme that we have to let go of these old methods of it's hard to control.
Yeah,
right?
and you still see people that we're now. Oh, and that's one that belongs to this phase is chaos, because we.
What do you mean chaos? Chaos?
Because we cannot trust our old structures. We cannot trust on the old ways. So we see that we move into a new in this water element, and there is chaos. But you see now a dividing our community, that you see people they go through and they find new ways.
Yeah.
And you see a group that is waiting for the storm to pass, and they want to go back to the old.
Oy.
And they say, oh, I really hope this is over soon, and then we can
go back to normal again.
Go back to normal. And I'm like,
backwards.
But there is no going back to normal.
No.
Because that normal that was there when we left it, it's not there anymore. There's no going back. That's not how things work.
It's moving forward.
It's always going, we're going through cycles.
Yeah.
So we cannot go back to the year 2000. That doesn't work that way.
No.
And so there's that struggle.
There's absolutely a struggle, and the result of chaos, and this is interesting. That's another aspect. You were talking about fear, and the impact of fear on ourselves and on our bodies. So if we look at the water element, there's chaos. Then if there's a disbalance, there's fear. Of course, there's a certain amount of fear. And can you talk about a little bit more about the body?
Yeah.
And how it influences that.
Yeah. So the emotion that belongs to this element is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most rooted fear in us is death. The fear of dying, that is so big, because we don't know what happens after dying.
Yeah.
And this is what we see with the water element. It's about dying, letting go of that what we know is there and what's beyond dying. So this is a very, very, very big topic. Is, okay, do I embrace the fear? And out of fear comes courage.
Wow.
And do we feel courageous enough to go through it and embrace the fear and then still make the steps?
Wow, it's goosebumps.
And then we can be reborn again. So that is the theme around it. But
it's poetry.
Yeah, but then there's the and after that I will go to the body, where it is in the body. But one of the themes that is around this is that in order to do so, we have to claim our right of existence. Do we feel that we belong here? Do we feel that that we can be here as a whole person?
And you can bring it back to decision making, right? In this case, I mean, there's a lot of decision making also in chaos. It's like, I mean, conscious decision making, and maybe on a more subconscious level, but you know, that's a big thing. It's
so one of the biggest.
If you go through that and you make a decision, and I don't see a lot of people actually making very clear decisions until something pushes them into a decision, is that if you can control this, well, control's the wrong word, but if you have like a grasp on how you can get yourself more into balance so that the outcome will be courage instead of fear, then you have a real tool.
Yeah. And you see this with people who go through a disease that was life-threatening, that you can really see the lightness when they come out of it. You can see that they fought the battle. And when they come out on the other side, you see there is
enlightenment. Right? There's a measure of enlightenment there.
Yeah.
Everything is light around these people. Yeah.
Especially when you see them just coming out of that.
So they in that process, they're also been going through the water element, right? I mean, it's like
they have been. They died in a certain way because they could not. They could not live the way they did before because that got them into big problems, and then so they have to move through and to be reborn. And some people, of course, they die in the process, but still those people as well. Sometimes you see before they die, there is really an alignment,
and that's also a cycle, right?
Yeah, that's a cycle as well,
But for people going through like a burnout or things like that, or maybe have cancer and then go through that and leave the cancer behind, and something dies with that, I think, and that's awesome. That's change. I mean, we're supposed to be changing. We're not supposed to be holding on, and a lot of these things are about keep holding on, control, fear, until you let go and have the courage to just move on, let go, and.
Yeah, but you see that we don't learn this in school. We don't learn to be. We learn to just step into the path that was created by the government, by the society around us.
Well, generations from generation to generation is like not conscious enough and staying in this metal element, which it really is about control. It's like, we have to. There's a society. You have to learn this because if you don't, you won't be a success or whatever. And it goes wrong every time again. Yeah. And who's learning?
So you see that. Well, some children are raised a little bit different, but you see a lot are. We go to school and we need to be in this certain way to find a job, to just do what's...
Play the game, right?
Play the game, do what's normal. And so it takes a lot to go out of that cycle.
Oh, absolutely. That's not easy at all.
Okay, so let's do a step a little bit further and look at our own bodies.
Yeah.
Because when we look at ourselves, we see that all the organs are related to an element.
Yeah.
And for the water element are the kidneys and the bladder.
Well, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. And but also the most yin aspects of our body, which are the bones.
Most solid. Yeah.
Solid, yeah. The teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And the brains and...
My brain.
Yeah, where is it? Yeah. Oh, no.
It's solid.
And hearing.
And the hearing.
Yeah. And the hearing it's the first thing that works for a baby. The hearing is the first thing. And
very much connected to spirit and feeling.
Yeah, and when you die, and when you can still hear, I mean, that's the last thing that kind of goes out. I don't know how you say that, but it's the last thing that works.
I wonder how they investigate that. But
yeah, I don't know, but it's.
But it makes sense from like when there's conception from that point of on that the spirit is there, right, and the spirit feels.
Yeah.
We start with feeling. And then comes the rest later, but it's all feeling in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's very connected to hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So but let's have a little bit more understanding about the kidneys, because the kidneys and the bladder, but the kidneys are said to be the place where our vital energy is stored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is It's
around the Mingmen, like the warmest spot on your back. Yeah.
And it doesn't like cold. So in wintertime, be sure to cover up the lower back, because that's where a lot of energy goes away from.
And interestingly enough, it's like the vital energy is stored in the kidneys, but it's also stored in the bone marrow.
Yeah.
So that's connected to the bones as well. So that's where your batteries are, right?
Yeah.
So very interesting.
And so batteries are a good word for the kidneys, because the vital energy is like you have like a battery within you that normally if you're very imbalanced or a little bit balanced, all the elements will help each other. So if one element is a bit low in energy, the element that it comes in front of it will give a little bit of energy to the next one, and so on. Yeah. But if you live very hard, very fast, and are all about doing, what you see is that all the elements kind of...
Well, they get drained, right?
And they don't have energy at all anymore. So then you still have the kidneys that is like a spare
well, that's where your
battery.
Fuel is, right? I mean, the fuel of the battery, yeah.
And so the kidney will always give those elements that don't have the energy itself. It will give some extra.
Yeah.
But that is also something that you have to be careful with. Because like a real burnout is when everything is empty and the kidney is starting to come in. Well, then you're really
in reserve, right?
Yeah, then you're really in reserve, and you should not do that for too long.
No.
You don't want to go
It will just shut off, right? Yeah. It's just, and that's when you see real burnouts, because I think this word burnout, these words burnout, are sometimes taking a little bit lightly.
Yeah.
Because a real burnout is people, they just can only sleep. They're only in their beds, maybe for a month, maybe for 2 months.
Yeah,
that's
they need
a real
to build the yin again. They need to build rest. And one of the ways to do that is sleep.
Yeah.
Just sleep. And so that's what you see. So you want to take really good care of the kidneys within your body.
Of course, and that's where the food comes in, that's where the Qigong comes in and everything. And that's, well, a lot of our clients, the people we help, come from a place like that. And they have to really start again. But on a spiritual level, the change, the water element change there, and the courage that comes from that, and it's like, well, there's no choice anymore.
Yeah.
Then we can move through the water element and go into wood, and that's beautiful.
And there's one interesting, because we have a saying in Dutch, I'm not sure if that's in English, but there are different sayings about water and fire. Fire it's kind of fire belongs to the heart. Mm-hmm. So we need a solid water element to be able to really go into our hearts and to go into our higher selves. We need that foundation from the right of being to walk your path.
Yeah, the path of a higher purpose, right? And that needs courage. There's a lot of courage.
There's courage there. So, but what you see, and that's so beautiful about herbs, is that there's so many herbs that really support the water element to be able to go into why you're here on this earth. Yeah. Wow. We can just leave it here. There's so many beautiful things to say about this element.
Well, I think the people are listening who are getting a picture now is like how this all is involved with each other and going from fear to courage, and making choices, making sure that your vital energy is as strong as you can get it.
Yeah. And your spirit, your spirit is housed in the heart. So to be able to go to the heart to really feel why you're here, you first need to claim your spot here on this earth. And then you can go into that higher purpose. So
what do I want to get rid of? What do I understand about myself? I've been living for a while. I know myself a little bit.
Yeah.
What do I need to let go of in order to move up to this higher purpose? Exactly. And that's what water element is all about, right?
Yeah. So
wow. I love it.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So in our next episode about 5 elements, we're gonna dive deep into what kind of foods belong to the water element.
Yeah, so as long as we're in the winter time, we decided to, investigate the element that belongs to the season we're in.
So
if you're in Australia, sorry.
Well, then you have to turn it around. But it will definitely help for you as well. And we're still in these crazy times that really, we're still in lockdown here, so So, but it will be good to know anyway.
Oh, of course. I was just kidding a little bit.
And there's never a time that you should not take care of your water element within you, the kidney, the bladder, especially the kidney. So next time we'll talk about the foods, herbs, and other ways to really nurture.
Absolutely, we'll be talking about Jing and how to strengthen that. So it was a big pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah.
Like always. And I hope people learned something today.
Yeah. And if you have any questions or if you want to add something to this,
share your thoughts. We love to hear from you. So
hope to see you next time.
Okay, people. Bye-bye.